Welcome to Andy Ari On3, presented by Wendy. Special instant reaction edition. Texas has run over Clemson, 6.1 yards per carry for the Longhorns. I kind of think if Texas had just quit throwing and started running in the second quarter, like run only, that game might not have been as close as it wound up being.
No, I mean, we spend so much time wondering who the quarterback should be and how much Archer's going to play. But if you run for 6.1 yards a carry, I'll play quarterback.
Well, and the crazy part is Texas loses two starting offensive linemen in the second quarter. Trey Wisner gets hurt, and they just keep on rolling. They were mauling Clemson up front, and then obviously Jadon Blue with the 77. Because when Clemson cut it to one on a clutch one touchdown, clutch Cade Klubnik throw on fourth down. Yep. You're like, oh man, this is the momentum's all going against Texas. This is going to be a game, and then Jadon Blue just shuts it right back down.
Yeah, right. And I think that's also too what you want to see out of a national championship contender. And thing here, Andy, is Clemson is not a great team this year. I think we agree on that. But they also are not the same as Indiana and SMU.
Very good
players. Yeah. And not that Indiana and SMU don't, but you know what I mean.
Right. Clemson has
from the way that they're
elite
built.
Recruits.
Right.
Yes.
So they are a team that when they put it together, if they're capable of putting it together, can give you a problem, especially if you're worried about whether or not Texas is going to be able to move the football.
So this game was not like the first two college football playoff games we saw. Like this, it was a 2-touchdown margin of victory, but this felt like it was a lot closer. I mean, even after the Jadon Blue touchdown, Clemson's on the goal line with the third down. Like they could have put it back.
They could have got within one touchdown.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the seriousness of the injuries to the linemen and Wisner are. Texas came into the season already losing its best running back and had a hard time at that position, and they've overcome that. But like the Texas that I saw with that defense, they who can't they beat? And I guess you could say Georgia because they lost, but I still think they could beat them.
Right, and it wasn't because of their defense that they lost to Georgia. It was because of their offense.
And it said Texas will win a football game in the playoff because of their offense. Doesn't that change the chemistry on how you view this team as a contender?
Yeah,
defense can still show up.
Now the question is, can Texas do that to a Georgia, to a Penn State, an Ohio State, an Oregon? Yeah, and that's your question.
But doing 6.1 against Clemson, I still think is a very impressive thing, and you can go feel good about yourself.
Well, and the thing is, I think they've been good at running the ball all year long. They just have so many weapons on offense. It's not something you would just do every game. You're going to spread things around, and you're going to see what you can do with all these different players. But now is the time you just do what wins. I remember watching the Broncos game the other night, and Sean Payton, they had a kind of a close-up of his play sheet. Mm-hmm. And at the top of his play sheet, he'd just written "run it" in capital letters.
Yeah.
I feel like Sark had that on his play sheet in the second half.
Yeah, and it's good that they found that. Now, like you said, I don't know how that will work when they play teams that are probably more equipped to stop them against the run, but also, too, it provides an element of confidence, an element of, kind of finding yourself offensively in a way that's more consistent than playing quarterback musical chairs or putting Arch in for more pass. Like, if you can run the ball with that defense, I think that keeps you in every single game you're going to play this year. And then also on top of it, if you do get hot throwing it, which because they do have the players to get hot throwing it.
Yes.
And Sark has proven back.
Well, and you saw Gunnar Helm tonight. Gunnar Helm had a great catch for a touchdown.
And if they can draw things up for them, like I feel pretty good about like where I stand on both national championship game.
Yeah, you got Notre Dame, Texas in the national title game.
Yeah, and I think people went nuts, but I also wonder too, and I don't think Notre Dame did this, but I do think that Texas, of all the games, the first three games, Texas changed how we view. I don't know. Did Penn State change? Who changed how you view them the most?
I don't know that Texas changed how I view them because that is not necessarily the way Texas played offensively, but the way that game went was about how I thought the Clemson-Texas game would go. And so I don't know that they necessarily changed much for me, but I love the way they were resilient. They bounced. Remember, they've got a week and a half to get healthy. I hope they can get some of those guys back. Like Majors, their center, went out on that blindside block on the interception. The right tackle was out. Wisner, he was on the bike trying to get. So,
but nothing seems.
It may be that they can get those guys back, and that's the thing. But it is something to think about in the playoff, and this is something that in the 14 playoff you didn't think about this as much because yes, if somebody got hurt and they were out for the next game, that was bad, but Texas would have to win 3 more games to win the national title.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, then depth and the lack thereof for teams is going to come into play here. But I think that you should be encouraged by the fact that, some of those injuries didn't look like, season-ending
that they
ones.
can get them back.
10 days is a long time for those kids who are in such great shape. And, that's the good news. But I do think, too, even if the first-round games have been unsatisfying to people, because really who was going to win the games, and all 3 hasn't been in question. We'll see what happens here tonight at Ohio State. Or Neyland North, as I like to call it.
Guys, by the way, so we've been sitting in the press box watching the stands fill up, and we kept thinking, there's some orange, but it's probably because the Ohio State fans are out in the tailgate lots because, this is their normal spot, and they're in their usual, tailgate lot, and these Tennessee fans are just visitors, so they just come into the stadium when they can. No. There's a lot of Tennessee fans here.
Yeah.
A lot.
And we're going to unpack that tonight.
Yeah.
But so far, this is what the tournament is supposed to do, I think. You get the teams that are better moving on and the teams that aren't as good out. And then as the matchups continue to progress, into the semifinals, we'll get to the teams that are most well-equipped to do that. And that means, depth. That means being able to survive injury.
And I will say the way Texas, I said it didn't change what I think about Texas, but now I'm thinking about it a little more. That question you asked me, if I'm Kenny Dillingham, the Arizona State coaching staff, this probably changes the way I prepare for Texas.
Right.
Because if I think they're going to try to run the ball down my throat, I'm gonna try to get prepared for that. But the problem when you do that against Texas, you're going to leave some stuff open for Sark.
And if that allows them to get hot through the air going into the semifinal, then the next thing you know, you've got a balanced offense and a team with a very good defense that can be dangerous to just about anybody they play.
I thought Quinn Ewers played a better game today than we've seen in a while from him.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Because we were at the A&M game. We obviously watched the Georgia game.
Yeah.
This was a much cleaner game from Quinn Ewers than either of those.
Yeah, and, Tennessee has the Tennessee coaches just walked by us.
And it's all orange.
Texas doesn't have to play Georgia, in the near future. So,
if all works out well, they might play each other again.
But, Georgia is equipped defensively to do some things that I think that other teams aren't.
Yeah.
And, our number one criticisms of Texas have spawned from what they were unable to do against Georgia. But what you're unable to do against Georgia doesn't necessarily translate to what you're going to be able to do against Arizona State and Oregon or whoever you're going to play. So,
well, Oregon's a different animal too, so we'll see what happens there. It's a little ways to get to that point, but this is going to be fascinating to watch Texas because it feels like are they the most complete team than Oregon or Georgia?
If you asked me 2 months ago, yes.
Yeah.
I did. I'll be honest. When I was watching the Georgia game in the SEC championship with you in Nashville, I was worried about them.
Yeah, we felt like their offense was limited, but it might just be his defense is that good.
Yeah. And Quinn has put up big numbers in big games, so it's not like he's incapable. So, I put them in the national championship game because as I was going through the bracket, I thought they had a really good chance to win every matchup that they had and avoid playing Georgia again.
Unless Georgia's there in the national title game.
It's possible that they play Notre Dame instead. We'll see how that all turns out. Maybe I'll be wrong about that. But, every team, outside of Oregon maybe, has shown overt deficiencies this year that can be exploited. Texas is one of those teams, but if you want to go off talent, if that's what we're reverting back to
if I'm imagining a Texas-Oregon game, I'm kind of imagining the Oregon-Penn State Big Ten championship game, except maybe with a little more explosive offense from Texas than Penn State
can do that.
That's what exactly.
Texas will be able to. So I think no matter who wins the national championship outside of Oregon, we'll be able to probably figure out immediately when they lose what caused them to lose.
Yeah.
And as we're getting ready to watch this Ohio State game, if they lose tonight, it'll be because their offensive line can't block anybody, and they know some of the things that we already know.
And if Tennessee loses tonight, it's probably because they went on the road and their offense couldn't hit the deep ball when they needed to.
I feel like by this point in the season, we have a pretty good feel of who these teams are.
Yeah.
And Texas, their only 2 losses are against another team in the playoff. They have avoided the embarrassing losses that other teams have had.
Yeah.
They have really good players. They've sustained injuries and depth a lot better than, other teams have in the past. And I feel really good. I wouldn't have put them in the title game if I didn't like them already.
Yeah.
But being able to run the ball as efficiently as if you feel like they can move that onto the future the future of their schedule, they'll be able to open some things up.
You like that better. You like that version better because it travels.
It's more reliable.
We got Ohio State AD Ross Bjork here. He's heading to the heading to the AD's box.
I need you to help me get a really nice blazer because I'm very jealous of your like blazer game. Okay, so help me out with that. Okay, sorry for ruining the
He's
video.
dressed very warmly tonight.
Yes.
No blazers tonight. So it is really cold out there, and you're going to see us on the field after the game. So Ari's getting his warmth in right now.
I'm already hugging myself, and we're inside. I got the parka over there. My wife got me for the holidays, and super excited to go see what this game's all about. And yeah, we're here on location, and it's been a really great few days. And thanks for being with us, and stick with us because Andy, we got a lot. And we got some columns up too. So go read on on3.com.
Yeah. Oh, Ari took on Paul Feinbaum, and we'll we'll probably do a home and home on Paul's show.
I want him on. I'm telling you, Paul.
Well,
have me.
You're gonna have to go on his show, and then we'll have him on our show, and it'll be hashed out.
Yes, but yeah, super excited for tonight. Can't wait to get back with you guys later this evening.
We will talk to you from the field. We'll be the ones shivering. See that.